welcome to this week's DevRel Deep Dive. And we're celebrating the release of version 16.2 RC, because that has come out today. And I didn't mess up the opening for once.
Oh, maybe you should have mentioned our names.
Oh, good point. I did mess it up. True to form. I'm Lotte. Hello.
I'm Sebastiaan. Hello.
Excellent. So, Seb, can we start with, I can't believe I forgot who we are. Can we start with looking at the release notes? How do people know what's coming in 16.2 and what they can get now if they upgrade to the pre-release?
Let's see. We have our GitHub page with releases, but that one only goes to 16.1.1. Oh no.
It does, because I guess, yes, this is an RC that's out, the release candidate.
It's been released 2 hours ago. And
this is how bleeding edge we are. 2 hours ago, and we're recording.
Good stuff. I think we're going to be looking at this first feature here, the Umbraco Flavored Markdown.
There is quite a lot in this list for people if they're interested, but this is a short video and a deep dive by definition. So we're going to do a deep dive into. Wow, that is.
I'm going all the way deep, yeah.
Yeah, the CMS team has been working hard. We're going to do a deep dive into the number one notable change. Number one in the charts. And to talk about UFM JavaScript-like expressions, we've invited our colleague Jacob from the CMS team to join us. Hello, Jacob.
Hi.
And welcome. You are our first guest on a DevRel deep dive. You are most honoured. You may not have
such an honour.
It is.
Yeah.
Incredible honour. Welcome. And we invited you here because we hoped you'd be able to give us a demo of what and talk us through what the UFM, which stands for Umbraco Flavored Markdown, JavaScript-like expressions. Why is this notable change number one?
Yes, well, first of all, I shall do my very best to try and talk you through it. So it is in the path of feature parity coming from the old back office, where we had the possibility to work with AngularJS templates within labels, be it for list views, property descriptions, and blocks as well, nested content, in fact, as well, but that doesn't exist anymore in the new back office. But it started with nested content and moved on to the others. It remained, though, AngularJS. And since we don't have AngularJS anymore, we needed to come up with something new. Yeah, the precursor for that was kind of UFM, Umbraco Flavored Markdown, as in GitHub Flavored Markdown, but our own variation that allows you to insert web components everywhere. And that took us a long way, but still using just plain HTML, which Markdown renders to, you don't have any logic. Like you can't say if this, then that, or else something else. You can't react to properties on, say, your block. So people have been missing that, and we wanted to bring it back. And an inner feature of that is kind of also the prop drilling, you could say. So if you have a block with a multi-URL picker, you wanted to do like items 0.url, for instance, you couldn't do that quite with just UFM. You would have to create what we call a UFM component for that. So this kind of brings that back. It allows you to render out literal values. And so maybe I should just show how it works.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, because what we want to see is what people can achieve just by customizing the back office. You don't have to go and roll any component yourself, add any extension project or anything. This is back to building good editing experiences with the tools out the box, right?
Yes, it certainly gets you a long way with this. We still have a way to go, of course. This is the first iteration. It's kind of new, but it really follows along with our whole vision for the new back office, which is to be as native to the browser as possible. So we don't depend on any one library anymore. This is to bring native JavaScript into these fields, but in a controlled environment, so you can't let's say, break the browser, you can't break the user experience. Yes. So if I can just share my window here. Just to take you through it, UFM, it's you can read a bit about it on the pull request, but essentially it allows you to use this new syntax in labels. So you can render out a literal value, you can check on props, you can use logic, and you can even pipe in functions. And there are a few functions or filters, as we call them, that work here. And one really interesting thing about this is that UFM filters also work here. So UFM, as we know it from Umbraco 15 and onwards, has filters. You can register them like this. And any filters that are registered here will more or less work in UFM JS as well. So you kind of stay within the same experience. However, it is very important to stress that you are in a literal territory here. So there's no reactivity on these properties unless we recompile it. Whereas the UFM component can react to certain other, actions coming in from the side. But let's just dive into it. So I've prepared a document type here. We have two different kinds of blocks. We have the rich text editor blocks. This is an inline block. And then we have a block list here. And one of the blocks, this one on the left-hand side, has a custom view. It is a normal block. It's called image block with a text and image. But that is just to show, there's also custom views in here. The other two blocks, however, they don't have any custom views. So they'll just show the name of the block, counter block and text block. And the text block then has a rich text editor.
And as we all know, if you have a list of 15 of those that will just say text block, this is not kind to the editors of the page.
Yes. Maybe we should also state that we do recommend people to build custom views for blocks. It is the best experience. It allows you to render out all the fields, like I can render out the text field and the image field at the same time, and I can do logic around those. I can resize the image as I see fit. I can use real life scenarios and really bring in the website experience into the back office. This allows editors to really, see what's going on before they even publish the page. However, if you have simple things, it might just be enough with a label. And to set up a label, you need to configure the block. So let's just try, for instance, to add a new row of blocks here. And then I've prepared a block just called my block, which has text and a multi-URL picker. So I'll just set that in as it is. We see the name of the block, my block. If I then go into the data type, which I have here, you see the configured blocks. And if I go into my block, I now can set a label. And if I wanted to do this UFM, I would just do curly bracket, equal sign, and then the alias of the property. This is normal UFM. Let's just see that works. So it should be blank now because I don't have a text. And when I put in text, it'll then show the text, right?
I love how you're so used to testing in that way. Start with no data and check it doesn't fall over. Yes,
exactly.
As well.
I'll just save that so I have the test. But this is normal UFM, and you can apply the filters and whatnot to it. So the new thing is I remove the equal sign and put in a $sign instead. And now it's a literal value, but I think you'll be surprised to see that it'll still show test, because it's a string value, right? But what actually happens now is it's no longer really rendered in a web component. It's just rendered as it is. But this allows me to do the logic. So you'll have to bear with me if I do mistakes here. But let's say I wanted a fallback to this. And since it is JavaScript-like expressions, I can sort of do JavaScript here. It doesn't support the whole language, but it supports something. So if I do two question marks and then say no text in quotes, let's see if this works. And then of course I'll just add a block with no text. No text, right? So now we're in the JS territory. It's being compiled and checked, right? So you'll also see if I then add some text, not test, but text, it'll then change because we recompile it. Let's go back. But I can build on more to this. So let's say I wanted to check how many links we have. I could do, I believe it's called links, and then I can do .length, for instance. So this is a call to the native JavaScript, behind the scenes. So it won't show anything because it's null at the moment, and I really hope this works. If I pick a link, let's just go with 1. It should now show 1, right? And over here, we could try and pick, let's say, 2 links. Oh, I need to pick them one at a time.
Yeah.
Of course. There we go, 2 links, right? And so I can actually do logic around that. I could say, let's say links.length, if that's bigger than 1, I could do you have selected more links, or you have selected only 1 link. Right, a little bit verbose, but for the sake of that, we can now react to that, right? So I could actually go in and tell the editor some, context around this block. Now, of course, because it just renders it out. So the only context I have of the actual block itself is the icon of the block, which is the default block icon. I didn't select any, but it allows me at least to show some kind of contextual clue around what you put into the block. So I could also check, if you don't have links but have a text instead, I could show that you have text, for instance. I could render that out instead. So conditions are there. And then, filters is also a thing, as I mentioned with UFM. You have, you can pipe in filters, so it becomes kind of functional programming. I don't actually know if the uppercase exists or it's just one of his examples, but let's go with, if I do text pipe uppercase, save that, reload. Yeah, it becomes big, right? Capitalized. So, and these filters are registered through the extension system. And if you register a filter like this, in there you can work with the whole JavaScript engine, you could say. And you also have context, so you could pull in other things from the back office, like contextual clues.
So there are some inbuilt core filters that people can use.
Yes.
As documented. The fact that you keep pointing to a PR at this point is because the documentation isn't quite ready for the UFM JavaScript-like expressions. If you're watching the video a week after the RC is out, then perhaps that will be a different story.
Yes.
For now, we're the documentation.
Yeah. The RC is out today.
Yep.
And in 2 weeks from now, the full release will be out with this on NuGet.
So we're hoping that people can, if you're on 16, then if you're on 16.1, then this should be an easy upgrade and give it a go and do some real world testing for us.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there anything else? Seb, have you got any thoughts?
Yes, I have questions. You're saying
Please.
we do encourage you to build custom views, but I can see that the implementation uses something called hexamal expressions, which is a library made for things like this. And I can see when I look at that documentation, I can see a lot of things like functions could happen. Could we accidentally hack things together so that it will turn into a custom view, but not a custom view for that block?
Yes, that is really interesting. A really interesting question, and in fact, we have people suggest that as well. How can we customize the block rendering engine? And one other instruction that's not really mentioned in the pull request, is kind of a precursor to it, is that we also introduced a new extension type called marked extension. Marked is the library we use to go from Markdown to HTML. And so UFM itself is just a marked extension. And this new thing we call UFM JS is also just a marked extension. So you can add your own marked extension. For instance, say, take Liquid.js or Handlebars or any of the other libraries. You can actually add that as an extension, and then you get the whole text to you, right? So you can render it out, and you can even cancel out sort of our extensions.
Okay.
If you wanted to. I did a test with it. I added Liquid.js to it, and you can get it to work. Of course, it then kind of disables UFM, so you need to make sure what to do, right? Because UFM will look at it afterwards, but UFM is token based, so line for line more or less. Whereas with a library like Liquid.js, you might want to specify the whole block. So a block isn't just a single line of text, right? A custom view. It's a template with maybe some loops and some image tags and some paragraph tags. And that can be a little hard to put into a label view like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Essentially, I mean, you have this field to define what a block looks like.
Yep.
But it is interesting to think, could we replace, like, could this actually be an extension in itself? Like the label renderer, the block view renderer. So important distinction there. This is the label rendering. If you don't have a label, it actually, well, if you have a view register, that will sort of precede the label. It will overrule the label. Yeah. So,
good.
but it is possible.
From the XML documentation, I can see what is possible with this. Is all of this supported? So if we go down to literals and operators and those kinds of things, is that all supported?
Yes.
Okay, that's really cool.
So it is the full library. We have XMLs. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
You have arithmetic, and you saw me using knowledge coalescing, which is a newer feature in JavaScript, but it is definitely possible. Yeah.
For a while. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But one really important distinction here is also in normal JavaScript. If your object turns out to be null or undefined, your whole JavaScript will stop executing. But this will not stop executing. It will just render out a blank string if it can't find it. So it's more like Angular actually. You had that in AngularJS, and we sort of bring that back. So that's why we say JavaScript-like, because you have the syntax, but it doesn't just do an eval on the thing, right? It allows you to work a bit with it. You can, in theory, also assign things, but then again, you only have a small field to put all of this in. But yeah.
Oh, but it's great, and this is also an addition to our documentation. We don't have to list all of these things. We can point to this documentation for more advanced use cases as well.
And you could also ask why exactly this library. Well, it's because Justin Fagnani created it. He also created lit, which we use. So we thought we'd stay in the ballpark of lit and have something that actually works, because lit sort of uses this as well underneath.
That's great.
Amazing. That's great. I'm hoping we will see some interesting use cases and some people maybe writing some blog posts about.
Yes.
Without having to build anything complicated, they're able to really improve the editor experience by using things like this. So if you have built anything, make sure to share it and let us know.
I would love to see UFM extensions and marked extensions appearing on the marketplace. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's an idea. Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us, Jacob. That was a perfectly lengthed deep dive into something that we hope people will now start using with earnest now the RC is out today. I was just going to say, I think another thing I noticed in the list of new features is that block settings data is now available in Umbraco Flavored Markdown, which I'm sure people will appreciate being able to use that in their labels as well. thank you very much.
And all of this is available in collections as well. So you can rent out the little cells in your collections with UFM.js.
Which, for people not used to this term yet, used to be called list views, right?
Exactly. List views in Umbraco 13 is now called collection views.
Excellent. That's why we're here, to remind you of things that people may not know yet. Well done, Seb. Excellent. Thank you both. This has been great, and we'll see you next time.
Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Exactly. I see you.